What is going on, YouTube? Welcome back to Fireside Rangers. I'm your host, Eric Wilson. Today, joined by my co-host, Will Cohen. Today, we're going to be discussing three keys that the Rangers need to happen in order to save their season and finish out strong. The All-Star break has just come to an end. The Rangers had their first practice today, and they got about, 30-something games left, like 31 or 32 games left. Things haven't been going good. But if these three things happen, then things should get better. My voice is a little shot today, so sorry about that in advance. But we'll get things going. Before we do, make sure you guys like, subscribe, ring the bell so you don't miss notification. If you're watching us on Apple or Spotify, be sure to give us a 5-star review. Leave your thoughts down in the comment section below, and be sure to follow us on all of our social media platforms at Fireside Rangers on Instagram, X, and TikTok. But before we really get into it, Will, how are you doing today? And in your opinion, what is the first key for the Rangers to save their season?
I'm doing pretty good today. I'm excited for the Rangers to get back into it tomorrow. The All-Star weekend was fun, actually. I actually did really enjoy it. I enjoyed the skills competition. I think that $1 million at the end was awesome, and helped it be a lot better. But I think the first key to the biggest key to the Rangers, getting back on course and in the second half of the season is Igor. I mean, in the last 2 years, we see when Igor's good, the Rangers are good, and I think that's really as far as the Rangers will go is Igor Shesterkin. So, I think if Igor plays better in the second half of the season, you'll see this team, and some other things go to plan. You'll see this team return to the one they were in the first couple months of the season, the first 2 months of the season. So I think in my opinion, that's really the biggest key for them is Igor. I mean, look at him this season. I know you have his stats, but I mean, by heart, I don't know his stats, but I think you have them pulled up. They haven't been great for his standards. They've been terrible for his standards, but that is really the number one key for the Rangers to get back on track in the second half of the season.
Yeah, I do have his stats here because you're right. Despite being one of the Rangers representatives at the All-Star game, Shesterkin's stats per his standards are not where they need to be, and we've us and the entire fan base, they've been very critical on Shesterkin this season. I think for the most part, including ourselves, people are like we believe that he will bounce back from this. It's just a little bit of a rough patch that he's going through right now, but throughout 32 games played so far this season, he only has 19 wins, 0 shutouts. His goals against average is 2.86, so pretty high right there, and a pretty low save percentage of 0.899. He's not even in the 900s right there. So, yeah, their stats aren't horrible, but they're not at the level of goaltending where he would be able to carry us deep into the playoffs like he has in the past. Now, obviously, we don't want him to have to carry, but it's kind of hard for the team to do anything when Igor is playing the way that he is. So again, I'm hopeful, and I believe that he is going to bounce back. He is going to turn things around. He played amazing at the All-Star game, by the way. That first round when they went into the shootout, and he was perfect in the shootout. That made me happy to see. And I know Molly Walker asked him, is your great play from the All-Star game going to help you boost your confidence moving forward in the regular season? And he was like, I don't know. We'll see. So hopefully it does. And he's able to start off the remaining 30-something games of the season strong.
And
But
he even said, he said himself, he said, I have the quote right here. I have to play much better and try to have fun and start to enjoy hockey again. I mean, when you're losing and you're not up to his standards, and we know his standards are high, it's obviously you can't enjoy it. You can't enjoy hockey because what's there to be what's to be fun when you're losing almost all your starts. But I think once he clears his head, his head, he's in his head, and we know we know that's what really can cause his downfall, like during seasons, is his mental, the inside of his head, getting in his head. But if he just gets a mental reset during the All-Star break, which it seems like he could have had, even though he was still doing hockey, but that will go a very long way for him.
yeah, I think you're right. Whereas, yeah, Igor was still playing hockey throughout the All-Star break, but it's the All-Star game. It's a fun, non-competitive environment. It was great to see Igor actually smile for once because the last 2 or 3 months we've just seen his like the graphic that we have going here, just like the dead look in the eyes where he's not enjoying his time. But I'm hopeful that Igor will bounce back. He's going to, and that is the first key. But the second key for the Rangers to save their season, finish out strong, and maybe hopefully win a Stanley Cup, to me at least, is getting some improvement from their scoring depth. I think you'll look back at this recent slump the Rangers have been in. There's only one line that's been producing offense, and it's Panarin, Trocheck, and Lafreniere on that second line. And even recently, Lafreniere has kind of taken a step back, and it's kind of just been Panarin and Trocheck carrying the offense. The bottom six as a whole haven't really done much. Will Cooley is probably the best member of that bottom six, but it's not because of scoring. It's because of everything else that he does. The first line, who knows where Mika Zibanejad is at right now, and Chris Kreider, their goal production is just gone. But Will, I'll let you talk a little bit about this, but scoring depth is 100% a key to saving the season.
I think Mika and Chris will start figuring it out again. I mean, they're too good not to keep this slump going on, in my opinion. I know that I've been critical of them over the past couple weeks on the podcast, but I truly do think that they are good enough to get back to where they were. And also have to remember that Mika's manager just had a kid. So that's, first time dad. That's probably really hard. I mean, I don't know. I can't say anything about it, but it's probably super hard having a kid and then having to go out and play hockey because you're probably just so tired. But, the scoring depth has not been good. They have Will Cooley and Jimmy Vesey, who Vesey hasn't been scoring a lot this year, but he's still, one of him and Cooley are the two best players on that in the bottom six. And it's pretty evident. I mean, they've done the most scoring for them. They've had not Jimmy Vesey, Barclay Goodrow, who hasn't done really anything this year. Tyler Pitlick, who's been injured, but he hasn't really done a lot this year. Blake Wheeler was there and Cabo Caco was there, and they're kind of, starting to score a little bit more, but there isn't anything that's like, when you're in the playoffs, you need depth scoring. You need those greasy goals, and that's what the bottom six is supposed to do. And the Rangers just aren't really getting anything from that. We've said it over the past couple of weeks that it's really only Panarin and Trocheck with a little bit of a mix in of Lafreniere there from the forwards that are actually scoring. So for the Rangers to get back to where they were at the beginning of the year, to get back to being a true Stanley Cup contender, they need three scoring lines that can give them goals and will give them points, and that will help them win a lot of games at the end, for the end of the regular season, but also in the playoffs. I think.
I was muted. We've seen how good the Rangers can be when their offense is buzzing. I mean, you look back throughout this slump that's kind of harmed this season. There hasn't been a lot of scoring, and that's been a huge problem. But then last game the Rangers played, they go and drop a touchdown on the Senators, and it was like probably their best performance of the entire season. So 100% getting that offense back on track, particularly the bottom six. That's going to be one of the ways that the Rangers finish out the season strong. But to kind of build upon that previous thought, moving into the third key, how do the Rangers start getting more scoring depth? I think the answer is the one that everyone knows: a trade. The Rangers are heavily involved in trade rumors right now. There's probably like every single day I see a different name that the Rangers are interested in. We know two of their top targets were Elias Lindholm and Sean Monahan. Obviously, Sean Monahan got traded away, and as did Elias Lindholm. Lindholm went to Vancouver, and I think Monahan went to Winnipeg, which the Rangers kind of did dodge a bullet on those. I mean, you look at both packages, and they were pretty expensive. Both involved first-round draft picks. I think the Flames absolutely fleeced them, the Canucks, getting everything they did as a part of that package. But I am kind of worried about it now because, those two trades to start off the chaos of the deadline, that's going to kind of set the standard on things. So, if Sean Monahan's going for a first round draft pick, like what are the Rangers going to have to give up if they want like Frank Vetrano or Tarasenko back? But, as the trade deadline approaches, we'll do more coverage on mock trades and everything like that. But I do think trading for a new forward is the third key to saving the season. We know they have a few needs in their offensive cores. With Hedel out for the remainder of the season, they need a new 3C. Blake Wheeler hasn't been that good on the first line. He's been decent, but not the type of player that's going to lead you to a Stanley Cup championship, in my opinion. So getting a new first line right winger should also be on the Rangers priority list there. But I think that's what they need to do. They need to go out and trade for someone, do it soon, preferably. But that's my opinion on it.
Yeah, I think they need to get a trade too. A name I really like is Daniel Sprong for that third line. I think he's a perfect third liner for the Rangers. He has 13 goals, 19 assists for 32 points. He's a +4 this year. He brings scoring. He'd be, he'd be in the top 10 for Ranger scoring, but he has more points than anyone on the third line. I think it's combined actually. He has more points than anyone than the not even the third line, bottom six in general. He has more points than anyone in the bottom six. I think bringing him in would be perfect. He has a cap hit of $2 million. I mean, you could get the Red Wings to. You're probably going to need the Red Wings to retain some of that to get another piece. And the other piece I really also like is Jordan Eberle. That's a name that might not be well with the Rangers because I know he was an Islander, but 9 goals, 19 assists, 28 points. Not the greatest, but he's an option that it's kind of cheaper. Might not take as much as like getting Frank for Toronto and maybe like Adam Henrique. I know I've heard those two names like more than anyone else on this trade deadline. Like literally, like those are the only two names I hear people talking about. But Eberle carries a cap hit of $5 million, not 500 million, $5 million. So they'd have to obviously get some money retained from that. But I think a Sprong and Eberle would be good for the Rangers. I mean, Eberle fills that the first line right wing, and Sprong I think he can play center as well as a wing. So the Rangers, I'd like to see them get them, but who knows what they do. I could see them getting Frank for Toronto. I really have no clue what the Rangers are going to do. I really don't. I don't even know who's on the market anymore. I really don't. That's
This is an
truthful.
interesting deadline where there's players are already being moved. There's not that many names circulating around. A lot of the names that are connected to the Rangers are players that were like, what? Like you said, Jordan Eberle, former Islander, Adam Henrique, former Devil. It's going to be an interesting one, but we'll see what the Rangers do. As I said, we're going to be covering the trade deadline as it's, like just over a month away. Probably just about a month. I think it's March 8th. Today is February 4th. So if there's, you guys watching, if there's any players that you might want to see the Rangers trade for, be sure to leave that name down in the comment section below. We'd be more than happy to do a video discussing the potential trades that you guys have in mind, even mock trades and everything. But that about wraps up today's episode. 3 keys to saving the Rangers season. Igor plays better. They get more offensive scoring depth, and they make a little bit of a splash at the trade deadline. So let us know if you agree with those down in the comment section below. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, ring that bell so you don't miss notification. If you're watching us on Apple or Spotify, be sure to give us a 5-star review and follow us on all of our social media platforms at Fireside Rangers on Instagram, X, and TikTok. Once again, thank you all for watching. We'll be back tomorrow with more daily Rangers content. Have a good one. And
let's go Rangers.